Hey, this is Tavi J from Anaheim, California, and you tuned in to the Rodriguez Show. That part.
Rodriguez Show. Back for our final guest of the episode. Shout out to Sierra Savage. She did a great job. Killed it with the music. Mondo also did a great job with the mix.
Yep.
Some Schoolboy Q in there. But now we have our final guest. His name is FutureSelf. How's it going, man?
Come on. Hi to my future self. I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Where do you live? I don't, because I know there's a lot of stuff involving Boston, but where are you coming from today?
Bro. So I'm coming from Seal Beach, California. Los Alamitos area, kind of that region in Orange County.
Nice.
I just moved back here about 3-4 months ago.
Where did you live before?
I grew up in Seal Beach. I grew up in like Los Alamitos, but I was in Boston, living in Boston for about 7 months going to school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So at FutureSelf_music is the Instagram. You just released a new project live in Boston. And you have another one also, Love Me?
The Love Me EP, yeah.
And then you're planning something else too, right? At the end of this month, because it's May 3rd already.
Yeah. So I'm playing Boston Calling with headliners like Anderson .Paak, Travis Scott, Tame Impala, 21 Pilots, and I'm doing that, my second composition for the Boston Ballet.
Yeah.
It's a total thing that I've composed, total music, and we're compiling it into an album, like a 5-6 song album, and we're releasing that the day before Boston Calling. So it's going to be a really cool experience because, while we're performing it live and whatnot, we're going to be like, hey, listen, this just dropped and you guys are the first people we're ever performing this for.
Damn.
And it's just going to be like a really cohesive experience,
Yeah. Wow. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. I just want to take us back to the beginning. How did you get started making music?
Ooh, man. So my parents, love them to death, love my mama. They were always, kind of artistic in nature. My mom always kind of played guitar, and so did my father. And so growing up, I always had just kind of a lot of accessibility to music, to instruments around the household. So it wasn't an issue for me to just, pick up a guitar, start playing. My older sister, she started on piano, and so I obviously didn't want to start on piano.
You want to do something different.
Yeah. So I actually started on drums. Probably around like the age of I think like 7 or 6, started playing drums, and kind of formulated a band with my sister, a couple other people, and then I transitioned into taking lessons with like piano, studying classical piano, and then the last instrument that I started picking up was actually the guitar, which was like I'd say like 9 or 10. Yeah, was when I always fooled around and whatnot, but I didn't start like practicing the guitar necessarily until around then, and that still wasn't practicing. But
which one do you think is out of those instruments is the most like intuitive, that you kind of more naturally learned?
What do you mean by intuitive?
I mean like the easiest one to pick up from when you started.
Man, that's a tough question because I think it's so much involved in who the person is. Yeah, really, and how you pick up music, how you relate to music.
Yeah, but for you personally?
For me personally, I'd say probably the piano. Yeah. It's probably the easiest, because, and I think a majority of, musicians would agree, because it's just so fundamentally laid out so perfectly. It's the most comprehensive to, kind of wrap your brain around. It's like, okay, here's the 12 notes, and then they look the exact same way in all the different octaves. And so, that was kind of the most logical thing to just pick up and be like, all right, this makes sense.
Cool. And then when you started making music on your own, was there somebody you were trying to emulate? Because we all have that like person we look up to that we kind of copy their style for a little while.
Yeah, man. I mean, I try to emulate so many different people, because like I was saying, I grew up in a cultivation of, music. Yeah. So I grew up listening to classic rock, at the same token listening to Bob Marley, the same token listening to Joe Pass and Jim Hall and Oscar Peterson, and the same thing, listening to all these different styles. But I definitely feel like, when I was making my first album, Space Wolf, something that I was like, all right, I'm starting my own path, I was definitely trying to emulate John Mayer, definitely trying to emulate Jacob Collier, definitely trying to emulate Mark Lettieri, and those were kind of like the people that I was like, okay, if I could embody someone, this is kind of, who I want to embody, because I feel like those people, not only just being like excellent musicians, but they're so respected for their music, and the way in which they craft just psalms in music. It's really just it goes beyond just being a really talented musician, you know.
Yeah, it's like a deeper than that.
Yeah, because, you know, there's so many people that are like just the best like guitar player or best classical pianist, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why there's only one John Mayer, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's because he's been blessed with this gift and this idea to formulate and craft what a good song is, you know, and what a good melody is, and what good harmony, and, you know, approaching it in that direction, you know. And so that was like, and John Mayer is, you know, one of those cats that's just like so respected for his guitar playing skills, you know.
Yeah. I mean, even if you've only heard the stuff and haven't seen it live, like it's still like, I mean, I've seen him live and it's just a whole different level of like, holy shit.
Yeah. Like he has all that trio stuff that he did.
Yeah.
And that's like, when you listen to that, you're like, okay,
I didn't know he could do this.
Yeah.
So now when you write a song, like how does it work? How do you take us through the process of it?
Yeah, well, it's weird because I'm pulled in a lot of different directions, you know, to write songs. You know, I was talking a little bit earlier, I'm a composer for the Boston Ballet. And so I go, and, you know, I think that's also partially because of the nature in which I was formed as a musician, you know. I went to Orange County School of the Arts, OSHA, you know, and I was surrounded by all these different styles of music, you know, Bulgarian, classical guitar, flamenco guitar, jazz, you know, hip hop, rap, you know. I was informed on all these different situations of music. Yeah. And so, and all these different perspectives on how to approach music. And so it can come from anything. And I think this is something that my parents instilled in me, you know, as they were trying to like cultivate a band, you know, a family band and whatnot, was like, and I remember this very vividly. It was like one of my first rehearsals with a band. I think it was called Text Generation. You know, I was like 9, and I was sitting on the drum set, and we had this teacher who was kind of guiding us through, and he was like, a song can come from anywhere. It can come from a drum beat. It can come from a melody. It can come from a lyric. It can come from a guitar line. It can come from a piano. And so I've kind of tried to embody that in what I do. So not one song is pulled in a direction, but it definitely has a logical formulation where it's like, okay, here's the heart of the song, you know. And for the first time ever, you know, some of the stuff that I'm releasing, not next month for Boston Calling, but after that with I'm not going to give too much away on that, but
you could tease it.
But it's for the first time I'm starting to approach it from a technological standpoint, you know, using sample drums, you know, using MIDI more, you know, using different sides of production that I, you know, not used to. So it's not just one place.
Yeah, it's like all over the place, and it's good to have the open mind that you have to all these genres. Because if you're just like, I just listen to John Mayer, and you're gonna get stuck at a certain point.
Yeah. Well, it's a means to an end.
Yeah, exactly. When you're writing music, especially lyrics, is there something you don't like, you hold back from saying? Is there like a line you won't cross?
It's not so much a line. It's and I think I learned this a lot from you know, the process of Space Wolf. You know, my first major album was, if it's really complex to you, it's probably too complex for the listener.
Okay.
So like, if you can look at your lyrics and you're like, okay, I don't truly know what this means. Yeah. Then that's probably not going to connect to your audience. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying that the audience is stupid, because oftentimes we undermine how intelligent the audience that's listening to your music is. Yeah. But it's more so like, I just try to really connect to the raw emotions and, you know, something that, the core of it, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you're like, you're doing too much, essentially, it's gonna go over the listener's head. No matter how astute or studied the listener is, they're not gonna get it.
Yeah, and you know, the most intellectual people, the people who really understand concepts and are masters, who have PhDs, who really just understand the fundamentals of certain things, they can articulate a topic to anyone. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're 9 years old or if you're 42 and you have 3 PhDs. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They understand it so well that they can articulate it in the most basic form. Yeah. And so I feel like that's what I try to do.
That's what you're aiming for.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
Wow. And so now that you grew up in Steel Beach, so that's pretty close to Orange County. Yep. What do you think of this music scene? How did you even find out about the Cool Lab? That's where I discovered you.
Yeah. So I'm actually somewhat of a Cool Lab alumni. Yeah. you know, I started going there probably like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now. Yeah. because I was going to Orange County School of the Arts, OSHA, which is in Santa Ana, on 10th Street. I've been going there for 7 years, and so yeah, man, that's kind of the scene. It's a weird thing too, because growing up, I was playing with all these musicians from Orange County, doing bands and doing gigs, playing like the small like Oktoberfests and Autumn Fests and stuff, and those kind of smaller festivals and Chain Reaction and D Piazzas and all those
everything around here.
Everything around here. And so I kind of was cultivated and learned all the musicians, and you know what? And the funny part was that a lot of them actually ended up going to OSHA. A lot of them I ended up meeting at OSHA. And so there was such a pool of art, just period, at OSHA, that it really allowed me to see, the scene that was going on. And when I went to the Cool Lab, it was like, okay, here's a place I can just go to after school, play with great musicians, for an hour and a half, and, just play. Yeah.
Wow. And if that doesn't get you listeners to go to the Cool Lab, I don't know what does, because that's a great ad. Shout out Cool Lab every Thursday at 4th Street Market, 7 to 9. So you're performing at Boston Calling, Boston Ballet. How did this all happen, man?
Yeah. So my sister is actually a company dancer at the Boston Ballet. And about 2 years ago, she was in this project called like Her Choreography. And it was about women taking a stand in choreography, in ballets and whatnot. And so she was talking to some of the directors and whatnot, and she was trying to choreograph for this competition and for this opportunity at the Boston Ballet. And she was like, they were like, okay, where are you going to get your music? And she was like, well, I actually, because a lot of people, sometimes outsource and get composers to do it. And she's like, I have my brother. He actually does a lot of composition work. He's studied, academically for X amount of years. And they're like, okay, let's see what he can do. And so I wrote about a 10-minute modern classical piano piece for them, and they loved it, and they really dug it. And so it was a really cool experience, not only to collaborate with my sister, but with the ballet. And I got to really meet, it's really cool because the Boston Ballet is a center for art, so I was performing with Chantel Martin. I don't know if you know who she is. She's an artist, really famous artist, killing. She was awesome. And so it was actually me, my sister, Chantel Martin, performing on stage, creating this art, alongside with all these other ballet dancers from the Boston Ballet. And so that was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna kill this and show them that, like, I'm I can do this, and like I'm good enough, because everyone kind of looks down. They're like, okay, the 18-year-old's coming in and to do the piece. And so so that's how I got linked into there. And then
how do your parents feel about all this? Do they love it?
Man, my parents love it. My parents have always been supportive. They're the best. I couldn't be anywhere without my parents. Because they were always the one. Who were going to ballet, dances for my sister. Showing up to all my concerts. Pushing me. Hey, you know what? You should stay in piano, because it's always a struggle. Especially when you're 9 or 10 and all your friends are biking around. Going and doing stuff. And I was like, I just want to quit. I don't want to do this. But my parents were always there, like, hey, you know what? I think you're gifted at this. You should just stick with it. And so I give a lot of grace and a lot of thanks to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's good to have somebody when they see you having that talent to just push you to do it.
Yeah, man. And and so oftentimes, I see people who are just so gifted and have so much talent, and they lack, the motivation, it's really the encouragement, because you don't know how much it means to someone to just go tap them on the back and be like, hey man, you really touched me. I really enjoyed your music. Please don't stop.
So this Boston Calling festival, is that the biggest one you've ever done? The biggest gig?
Man. I mean, I did a small tour with the Sophia Dion band. We went through like Las Vegas and Utah, and we performed for like 6,000, 5,000 people, and we were the headliners for that. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
That was pretty dope. But this is 45,000, 50,000 people, and these are the biggest artists in the world, Travis Scott, Anderson .Paak, Tame Impala, 21 Pilots, Mumford & Sons. It's like, and so
sharing the stage with them.
Yeah, man. It's a blessing, and I'm super excited to be doing it. And it's really just like I'm just throwing everything I got at it.
So where do you see yourself going with it? What's next after this Boston Calling?
So Boston Calling, releasing that album. The next month later, I'm releasing another album with like 5 major music videos that I've been working on for the past 5 months. So that by the end of this year, I'm aimed to have like somewhere between 30 to 40 songs out, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music. That's like 8 major projects.
Wow.
And so within that year, that's like where I'm going to be this year. Within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm going to be touring worldwide, touring with all my favorite artists, just opening up for them, performing alongside of them, just doing all these amazing collaborations.
Who's the dream one? You're like, I want to be
Anderson .Paak, man.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's such an amazing thing because he's been such an influence on me. It's like I could name like 50 other guys like Jacob Collier. There's so many people. Michael League would be someone I would love to collaborate with, and it's going to be amazing when I do collaborate with him. Talking things into existence.
Wow.
but like Michael League in particular, I don't think I mentioned him earlier, but he's someone, the bass player, the director, the composer for Snarky Puppy, the main composer for Snarky Puppy, and what he has done, he created ground up music, and he runs that record label. And so right now I'm establishing with a couple of different artists, FutureSelf Music, which is the record label that I've released all my works under.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be releasing about 3 to 4 artists within the next year to 2 years underneath that record label. And so within the next 5 to 10 years, man, I'm gonna have a record label
taking over. Man.
Oh no, it's an invasion, bro. It's an invasion. Record label, got all my music out, touring worldwide, and what I'm gonna do within the 5-10 years when I have that worldwide recognition is I'm gonna be creating these art platforms and this art distribution for the world. Saying, hey, listen, this is where art's going. And trying to incorporate God, Jesus into it, in Christ, because that's where I find my purpose, that's the soul of what I'm doing with FutureSelf. FutureSelf meaning looking into the self that you want to be, and setting times in which you had patience and you had purpose in your life, and making those cornerstones and trying to create a center and like a democracy to say, listen, our art doesn't have to be separate from our purpose, and showing like the youth that are coming up in music and ballet and art, that, hey, listen, don't stop, this serves a purpose, this helps people, and, and just delivering that message, whether it be with like 10 people holding a world conference every single year, whether it be just myself, I see that in my head for sure, going forward.
Wow, man. Well, we're excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see you on opening for Anderson .Paak soon as well.
Yeah, man.
Before you perform, because I know people probably are waiting, can't wait to hear what you got.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna do this 60 seconds with. I'll just do it over here. It's fine. I'll tell you when to stop. So I have this questions right here. It's the first thing that comes to mind. Let me just pull it up here. Dang it! Here it is. 60 seconds with. You ready for this?
I don't know, man. I'm always ready. Let's do it. All right,
let me get to this. Ready? And favorite comic book character?
Iron Man.
Favorite song right now?
Wings by Mac Miller.
Do you have a hidden talent?
Surfing.
Something people would be surprised to find out about you?
I like hopping onto roofs and going onto roofs.
Oh, I've seen that on your story. First name of your first crush?
Oh my gosh.
Taking it back.
Danica.
First CD you ever bought?
First CD I ever bought. I don't think I've ever bought it. Metallica. Ride the Lightning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
First song you would legally download it?
Wes Montgomery for 4 on 6, I think.
Favorite non-hip hop genre?
Jazz.
Early 2000s hip hop or early 90s?
Early 90s.
Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network?
Nickelodeon.
Favorite thing about music? One word.
Expression.
And that's 1 minute, 60 seconds with FutureSelf.
Come on.
Follow him at FutureSelf_music.
Yep.
I'm sure they'll get. That's where they can get the info on every project you're doing.
Everything I'm releasing, etc.
Live in Boston, out now, and before Boston Calling, you have another project out too.
Yep.
Do you know the name of that?
Nope. The name is undecided right now. We're waiting back for the art cover, in collaboration with the ballet. So, that's to be announced.
All right. Well, are you ready to perform for us?
Oh man, I'm ready to perform. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. This is FutureSelf on the Rodriguez Show. He's getting ready. Like I said, follow him at FutureSelf_music. Live in Boston now. Love Me also out now, and so many projects coming out. All right, I'll let you take over.
Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw a diamond ring, and I thought about you. Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw you wearing a diamond ring, and so it seemed. So I moved on, 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 I moved on. Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw you wearing a diamond ring, and so it seems. Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw you wearing a diamond ring, and so it seems. Come on, I moved 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 on. Come on. Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw a diamond ring, and I thought about you. Love seems so stupid to me, but then I saw you wearing a diamond ring. Yeah. Do not be deceived by the guilty and falling in harm. Many claim to the trust of an unfailing love, but trailed to avoid, your lamp was snuffed in the darkness, and taken by light you inherit your own foolish guidance. The human light that sheds on this earth, it shines so bright, but all that you see is the light that guides the joy of creation. Hand and face, you see his direction. Simple gain wisdom and take note of foolish precision. One who can see the purpose with life, love, intentions. But don't give up, plant the seed and watch it grow for all to feed. 'Cause once you die, that's it for life, the foolish say, and they don't see the human light that sheds on this earth shines so bright, but all that you see is a light that guides the joy of creation. Hand and face, you see his direction. Light, do what's right, do what's right, fight for life, guide the light, be the light, do what's right, fight for life. The human light that sheds on this earth, it shines so bright, but all that you see is a light that guides the joy of creation. Hand and face, you see his direction.
Hey, future self on the Rodriguez Show.
Oh, thank you very much. Say hi to my future self. Come on.
Follow him at FutureSelf_music. Get news on all the projects. Thank you for coming through, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, man. God bless
Come
you.
back anytime, bro.
Thank you.
And that's it for the Rodriguez Show. Thank you for listening.